messages to Freedom Valley Church.
What do you think worship is?
Worship is you dance, pray, sing, dance quietly or sing quietly. You can dance anywhere or sing anywhere at any time.
Who's it for?
Huh?
Who is worship for?
God. Like, you want to show God how much you love Him.
Good job. You guys are awesome.
Hey everybody, and welcome to AppGroups, where we apply the message we heard this week at Freedom Valley Church. This week I actually spoke, and I spoke on a passage a lot of passages that are near and dear to my heart lately. I've been really getting into the Psalms and really getting into what worship means all over again. Back in kids ministry, I was super passionate about teaching the kids that worship is all about God. It's so focused on who God is that it barely even mentions anything that He does for us. And so it's the kids would say, I know that God heals people, right? Because God is the healer. And the kids would say, I know that God sent His Son to die for us, right? Because God is a Savior. That's who He is. And so that's how He interacts with us. And as I started going through the Psalms, I actually realized how much the Bible actually talks about music. And all of the Psalms are actually songs written to God. I looked it up, and actually 1,150 times the Bible mentions music in some form. Drums, hymns, singing, trumpets, stringed instruments. Over and over and over and over, it says music is a part of our interaction with God. And it's an amazing thing that God is so musical. I believe that heaven is going to be loud. I believe it's going to be full of children, and it's going to be full of music, and we're going to shout for joy with grateful hearts unto the Lord. But there is a way to do worship wrong. Romans 12 actually says in verse 1, "And so, dear brothers and sisters, I plead with you to give your bodies to God because of all He has done for you. Let them be a living and holy sacrifice, the kind He will find acceptable. This is truly the way to worship Him." And so if there's a kind of worship that God finds acceptable, there must be a kind of worship that God does not find acceptable. And I think that comes down to really two things: the way that we live and interact with God, and the way that we live and interact with people. First of all, when we come into a worship service, we have to know that it's not about us at all. It's not about our preferences or whether we're comfortable or not. It's about our focus getting off of us and onto Him. If we understand who He really is, His character, the way that He provides, the way that He creates, who He is, then we're much more likely to see our place in all of that, to see that we're not nearly as big as Him. We're small but not insignificant in His plan, that He chooses to use us. It's an amazing thing. It produces gratitude and this deep sense of awe and wonder at who He is. It also makes us want to be more like Him. We have this we're drawn to who He is because He's so good and pure and true. And so that makes us want to treat other people better because of who He is. That's the kind of living in holy sacrifice that is truly acceptable to Him. And so how do we do that? How do we sacrifice ourselves in everyday life? How do we go about entering into a worship service, a church family, truly sacrificially giving to others well and truly worshiping God? And so that's what we're going to talk about in our groups today. I hope you have a great conversation, and we'll see you guys next week.